Still got Bondo all over the place from sanding that off the other night. Really tough to get that stuff cleaned up, but I tried. All right, guys, let's do a weekly startup. Okay, so we're gonna fire up the Iron 6 here in just a second. It hasn't been started since the last time I ran it on the previous weekly startup. One thing I'm gonna do while I have it running is we fixed the sound, we fixed the brake issue that was making all that noise on the last weekly startup. But when you throw it in drive, it makes a really weird noise. So I'm gonna try to figure out what's going on there. So we're just gonna back it down the driveway and bring it back up and see if we can get that figured out, because it's driving me nuts. And then we're going to talk about the upcoming bodywork plan. All right. So it's been a week exactly since it's been started. So pump it 3 times and see if we can get it to start. Straight 6 strong. I love it. It's really good to me. Alright, so we'll let it run, then we'll back it down the driveway. And I'm pretty sure I already figured out what the noise is. It seems to be the drive shaft. For some reason, whenever it's in drive, is rubbing on something. So we're gonna look into that. The hole in the muffler was helping me clean up the Bondo. Look how tiny she looks compared to the newer SUVs. You don't really realize how small these cars were until you see them next to other vehicles. Alright guys, I'm going to start her back up here in a minute, but before we do that, I want to discuss a few things. First being, if you're unaware of this, there's a podcast I've been listening to for about a year called Ford Mustang, the First Generation, the Early Years. It's a really cool podcast. They range about 30 to 40 minutes in length at a time in an episode. It's a weekly podcast. They've had Bill from CJ Pony Parts on there, Barry from Joe Daddy's Garage, the Mustang Medic has been on there. Anyway, I had the great opportunity to film an interview for the podcast, which is going to be on in 1 to 2 weeks. And I'll put a link to the podcast in the description for you to check out. Regardless of whether you want to listen to my interview or not, I highly recommend you check it out. It's a really cool podcast to listen to if you're into older Mustangs. No, this is not a paid advertisement. I just never really thought to tell you guys about it or say anything about it because it's just one of those things I do in a weekly routine. And it wasn't until I actually interviewed for it that I was like, huh, I should mention that on my channel in case anybody wants to check it out as well. So check it out if you get a minute. The link is in my description. So with that being said, let's talk about the bodywork plan for the car. Okay, so as you guys know, the biggest chunk of Bondo has been removed from the car. And surprisingly, the sheet metal underneath is not that bad at all. Even that is not bad for what a lot of these Mustangs see. So it really has me wondering what the rest of this stuff is going to look like whenever I pull the Bondo off. This really isn't bad. I'm curious to see what's going on under here. There is rust coming through, but I don't know that I'm even going to need... This, I think, is going to be repairable just with possible small patches of sheet metal. I don't think I'm going to need to get any kind of a replacement patch panel for the fender. So where I'm at right now is I need to get my welder set up for welding. I still need to get my CO2 argon gas mix, which I haven't done yet, which I'm hoping to do this week. But I'm not there yet. So until I get there, there's probably going to be a lot of odds and end jobs that I'm working on. At first I thought, you know what, I can strip a lot of the paint and start finding out what's going on under a lot of this. But I can't really strip stuff and put epoxy primer on it right now because it's so cold, and you need warmer temperatures when you spray epoxy primer. So one of the reasons I stripped that back quarter panel was to see how the metal would behave in the garage over the winter. I don't know how much moisture it takes in the air to start rusting bare metal like that. So I'm going to give that a little bit because I don't want to spend a lot of time stripping the hood and fenders and stuff down if I'm going to have to go over everything again in the springtime. So I'm still thinking about different things I can do to proceed from there. So back to the noise. We're going to start it up, and I'm actually going to lay you guys down there, turn the light on, and slowly drive over you so we can see if we can get a better look at what the heck that drive shaft is doing. All right, I'll be back.
It'll like spit to you.
Also, I'm just now realizing how badly this thing smokes. Kind of wonder what's going on there. Okay, so I just looked at the footage, and I'm fairly certain the drive shaft is banging off the emergency brake cables or possibly even the brake lines, which I need to get fixed because when I reinstalled those brake lines, I did not put all the clips back on. So I got to get under and make sure that's not what the drive shaft is heading off of. But when I replayed the footage, I could see that it was either the cable or the brake line is coming very close to contact with the drive shaft. And if that's the case, that would make a lot of racket. So I think we have the mystery solved. I will let you know for sure in Friday's episode. All right, guys, that's all I have for the weekly startup. Until I see you Friday, take care.